What's going on, beautiful people? What's popping with the population? All that good stuff. Check this out. Look, I'm here to talk about Port Antonio, the latest release by J. Cole, in which he dropped on his IG page just this past week, and it's caused a lot of conversation. I'm sure you've heard about it, some good, some bad, and we're going to chop it up about as much as possible about this record, all right? So let's get into it. On October 9th, J. Cole took to IG to clear his page, and when most of us thought he was going to begin the rollout for his new upcoming album, The Fall Off, he surprised all of us with a brand new record called Port Antonio, 5-minute soul sampling bomb, if you will. It's caused a lot of controversy, a lot of conversation. Song is beautiful, and I think we should start there. The song being beautiful as a whole, with a lot of the things going on with the beef with Kendrick and Drake the last couple of months. Wherever J. Cole has been positioned has been met with a lot of controversy, and I think that has been overshadowing the fact of the quality of music that he's been putting out being good music, right? And this is no exception, right? I think the same thing happened with Mike Delete later, where people found out about 7-minute drill, and most of the attention was focused there rather than how good of a project that we just got from J. Cole. And it's been a while since we received the project from Cole, and we know that he's gearing up to give us a new album. That wasn't the conversation. It was about how salacious 7-minute drill was. And that's not of the fault of the people entirely. But the conversation with the people, that's another story. We're going to get into that. Let's start with the record. The record is a beautiful record produced by Omen, DZL, and J. Cole himself. And before any words are said, there's a message presented with just the production alone. Two noticeable samples we have here on this record. One, Know That You Are Loved by Cleo Soul. And the other is what a lot of us in hip-hop know as the Dead President keys, but it's a sample from a song called A Garden of Peace by Lonnie Liston Smith. And these two production choices lay out a stage for the content that would be received from Cole on this song, specifically revolving around peace. Some people look at that as a cop-out, but it's a consistency. And we're going to be talking about three things in this video: consistency, narratives, and contextual evidence. And consistently, Cole has been a proprietor of peace since 2014. When he dropped Forest Hills Drive, that was his magnum opus, right? The magnum opus of saying, I'm stepping away from the spotlight of fame. I'm stepping away from the things that can drive you, the allure of fame being a fulfillment. And I'm only going with the things that fulfill me internally, the things that matter the most: my family, my peace, my state of mind, those that I love, the things that I love, which also include the messaging and how active I am when it comes to this rap thing, right? So those are the things that he's been looking for to fulfill his peace, and not looking on the outward things to fulfill him and the perspective and the eyes and things like that to be his internal peace. And that continues to come up here, right? And talking about peace, we hear on the record Cole speaking about peace several times and the things that he feel like has disrupted his peace, and how he's even leaned into a lot of it himself, right? And where he's found his new grounding at now leading forward. Let's talk about some of the lyrics that have caused a bit of an uproar, right? I wouldn't have lost the battle, bro. I wouldn't have lost the battle, dog. I would have lost the bro. That line has caused a lot of conversations around, was it genuine? Was it a backhanded compliment? Was it him taking back when he said he was backing out of the battle back in April? Who knows? Art is subjective. Art is subjective. However, contextual evidence does help us get to the bottom of what it actually might mean, right? So if we look at the things that he says before that, leading all the way up into that to that line, he says, in this game where all you have is your name, like Dirk, I'm smirking at people trying to besmirch mine. Absurd times where the fake get told it is wise. I can see hate in both of your eyes, but the third's blind. So you search lines, but you struggle, which explains the puzzle look on dull face as the words find. I hate what raps become, but like do not disturb signs, can't knock it if it's about the dough. They instigate the mess because it's profitable, but sing and stop the violent tunes when dudes in hospitals. I pulled the plug because I've seen what that's about to go. They wanted blood, they wanted clicks to make their pockets grow. They see the fire in my pen and think I'm dodging smoke. I wouldn't have lost a battle, dog. I would have lost a bro. I would have gained a foe. And all for what? Just to obtain some more props from strangers? Listen, The things he says before and after that line put in a good framework of exactly what that line meant. The battle was not something that he was prioritizing because he sees the value in the relationships that he have with both individuals that were involved in the battle, and where he had a misstep of commenting and saying things on his 7-minute record that he decided to put out, understandably so. He put it out, but came back on Dreamville Fest stage to tell us that was one of the corniest things he believes he's done in the last 10 years because it went directly against his understanding and his focus of peace, right? And so with that, I don't look at it as him saying, I would have beat Kendrick if I stayed in the battle. I look at it as I backed out of the battle because it didn't matter if I beat Kendrick or not. I didn't want to damage that relationship. And that's something that has been consistent because when it comes to Cole, if he wants to diss somebody, he's told us multiple times of how it will be done. Right in his own lyrics. We don't have to look too far back. We can go all the way back to first person shooter mode from last year. First person shooter mode, Cole did two things, which is very important because he does a lot of the same on this record, right? He does two things. One, he opened the verse with how he feels about people spinning narratives when it comes to his lyrics to create tension between him and somebody else. He said, people so thirsty to put me in beef, dissecting my words and start looking too deep. I look at the tweets and start sucking my teeth. I'm letting it rock because I love the mystique. The second thing he does is he steps on a narrative that is currently being spun at that time, which was him and Youngboy, right? People were saying because Youngboy dissed Cole on Alive or whatever that was, that Cole was taking his shots back at him because of a song that Cole had just put out with Lil Yachty called The Secret Recipe. And people were wondering if a line in that verse was about Youngboy. And he came back to say, no, not at all, right? He said, I still want to get me a song by B. Can't trust everything that you heard on IG. Just know if I diss you, I'll make sure you know that I hit you like I had your caller ID, right? So that is saying I will be direct. Kendrick had a line very similar. You know, if I take flight, it's going to be direct. Cole saying the same thing here. But we can go back to Middle Child, where Cole has a very similar thing. If I smoke a rapper, it's going to be legit. It won't be for clout. It won't be for fame. It won't be because my stuff ain't selling the same. It is going to be a direct shot if I am intended on going at somebody. Other than that, Cole has been very consistent, yet again, very consistent in showing how he likes to show his level of competition, which is on songs with as many people as possible. He's had a litany over the last few years, dating all the way back to 2018 when he started his feature runs, right? Jumping on songs with all these people to show his level of competition and just how active he is within the sport. And it's been a beautiful thing to witness. So people taking things out of context, but art being subjective can lead to a lot of these conversations that people are having. But in the spirit of taking shots, right? As he is presenting himself, competition is still at the core of this. And competition is something that is not new to hip hop, but the resurgence of it can be dated back to 2013. Super important year. Let's talk about it. 2013, we have a creation of what was known at that time as the New Legends. It's a bunch of artists: Wale, Kendrick, Cole, Drake, Big Crit, Meek Mill, ASAP Rocky, Tyler the Creator, Mac Miller, Jay Electronica, Big Sean. Wait, why does this sound familiar? That's right, Control, right? When Kendrick dropped the Control verse in 2013, he mentioned all of these artists, and he mentioned them because the New Legends conversation was being had, which also could be known as the blog era, right? The artists that were big forerunners in the blog era were those who were seen to be taking the torch of hip hop in the new state that it was in and running forward. And Kendrick called all of them to the stage to say, hey, we're going to really run this thing. Competition is still here. Like, all of us are doing our thing. Who's going to take it the furthest? Like Cole has been really doing. It's not necessarily that he wanted to battle anybody when he made the Control verse. He really wanted to up the level of competition because we're all fighting for the ears of everybody that's listening, right? We're fighting for the ears of everybody that's listening. So why not be the best when we step out? It ain't got to be about a battle. You battling by every time you step out. What are you presenting? Cole has taken that as well with his late his latest runs of features that he's been doing, like I said before, the last couple of years, right? Competition is alive and well. But in the midst of the new legends, three stood above the rest. And we know those as Kendrick, Cole, and Drake, who since 2013 have been presented as the big three. Some call them the three-headed monster. There was an article written that called them the mind, the heart, and the soul of hip-hop. Kendrick representing the soul, Cole representing the mind, and RB representing the heart, right? These three things have been consistent. So Cole didn't create the term the big three when he came up with first person shooter mode. It's been a thing, a running thing, where it's been in articles, it's been in interviews. In 2018 when Elliot Wilson did the Rap Radar interview with Drake, right? They did that interview, and when Drake was talking about the things that inspired him, he said, my contemporaries, and only mentioned two people, that is J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. And then Elliot Wilson said the three-headed monster, big three as we know it to be, right? This is because this has been a thing, right? But competition and battling can often be confusing, and people don't understand those things. But the competition was sparked, and because of that, hearing somebody's name or things that allude to what might be somebody has been taken as disses, because Kendrick shook the game up with control as much as he did. But the game needed it, right? And ever since then, it has really been a thing of how the media takes things and runs with it. The people versus J. Cole, right? The people, whether it's media or fans, has been an ongoing battle with J. Cole and how his approach towards things have been going on. Now, like I said, the situation with YB, way back, the situation with D. Simmons, I hate to mention that in this video, but it's been a thing. And a lot of people think he's even been taking shots at Kendrick throughout the years, but it goes against something that he's been consistent in saying, which is if I were to take shots at somebody, they would clearly know it. It would be direct. There wouldn't be any ambiguity to it, right? But the things that have been happening, Cole was just like, I have to straighten out these narratives myself. And he doesn't stray away from that on this record, because the last couple of weeks prior to this record releasing, a conversation has been happening if Cole is dissing Drake, or will he be taking shots at Drake sometime soon, because he's done features with the likes of A$AP Rocky as well as Future. And that has caused a lot of issue, a lot of conversation, because we know those two to be at odds with Drake at this current time. But that's not what Cole stands. He's never said anything about Drake of the negative sort. And just like he did on the stage in April, apologizing to Kendrick, this song is more or less the same when it comes to Drake. And the apology, right? This song is literally just the apology on wax. But also, anybody that's a Cole fan recognizes this was something that was going to be talked about regardless. So you take a song in which he was probably already going to do, and you mix it with him stepping on yet another narrative, which is him dissing Drake. He takes the time to say, for all of y'all say that I'm picking sides, don't lie on me. I'm not doing that in the slightest here, because that's my dog. He's done a lot for me. I respect the relationship, similar to how he said the things he said about Kendrick on stage. I respect him. His catalog is amazing. Going out my way to try to discredit that isn't true, one, and two, that isn't where my heart resides, right? So he's taking the time to step on yet another narrative that was created. Now, we create these narratives because ever since the Big Three was invented, anytime Cole spoke on competition, we thought he was talking about Kendrick or Drake. Anytime Drake talks about competition, Cole or Kendrick, and so on and so forth, because they indeed were the Big Three. And when you have three figureheads at the top of the game, who else would they want to talk to except for their peers, right? But like I said, art indeed is subjective. So the song is no more than just the apology that was given on stage with a more direct approach to Drake and letting him know, hey, I still got nothing but love for you as well. And Cole really takes this record to put himself right back in the middle, as he's always proclaimed himself to be, the middle child, in between Kendrick and Drake, and what they represent more in totality, and finding the peace that was within himself, being right there in the middle, right? Showing both of them love. Because the media just wanted to see blood. They wanted a bloodbath, because this made a lot of people a lot of money and got a lot of channels, podcasts, radio hosts, a lot of attention, because the last 7 months we've been talking about nothing but this beef. But That's all I got to say about it. What do you feel? Comment, like, share, subscribe. And I'll talk to y'all later. God loves you. Jesus saves. Holla.